Hi, I'm Claire, and welcome to Genrewise, news from the world of SFF. I am recording on February 23rd, and today we are going to start by looking at awards news, then we'll move on to books, fandom news, then film and TV news, and finally IRL news. For every item that I'm talking about, I'm going to link some extra information and more in-depth articles in the description box below, so you can always check there for further reading. First up, we've got awards news, and we're getting fully into awards season now, so we've got quite a few exciting shortlists, starting with our very own BookTube SFF Awards. The full list of nominees is out now, and if you missed the flurry of announcement videos from all of us BookTube SFF judges the other week, I'll leave a link to mine in the description box below. The SFWA, Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America, have just announced the finalists for this year's Nebula Awards, and there is quite a bit of overlap with the BookTube SFF shortlist, especially in the novel category, with nominees including The 10,000 Doors of January, A Memory Called Empire, Gods of Jade and Shadow, and Gideon the Ninth, so I feel pretty good about that. I'm also delighted that The Haunting of Tramcar 015 by P. Jelly Clark is up for Best Novella, and Catfishing on Catnet by Naomi Kritzer is up in the Young Adult category. The awards will be presented at the Nebula Conference on May 30th. The British Science Fiction Association has released the shortlist for the 2019 BSFA Awards, including Atlas Alone by Emma Newman and Fleet of Knives by Gareth L. Powell for Best Novel, and To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers, and This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal M. Lotar and Max Gladstone for Best Shorter Fiction. Again, BookTube SFF Awards crossover. Voting is currently open for BSFA members and people who will be attending EasterCon, so if that's you, check out the link to the online ballot in the description box below. The vote closes on April 11th at noon, and the awards will be presented that same evening at EasterCon. LOCUS magazine have released their annual recommended reading list for 2019. This is a fantastic resource to find some of the best science fiction, fantasy, horror, YA, and even non-fiction that was published last year. This recommendation list was compiled by LOCUS editors, columnists, and reviewers, and it acts as the base long list for the 2020 LOCUS Awards. If you're interested in participating in the LOCUS Awards, I'll leave a link to the online ballot in the description box below. Voting is open to the public, and the deadline is April 15th, 2020. And finally, we've got winners for the 2020 DICE Awards, which are given out annually by the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences to some of the best video games of the previous year. Winners include The Outer Worlds, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and Control, which took home 4 awards in total. I was also delighted to find that Babo Is You won the game design category, and Everyone's Favorite Goose won for Outstanding Achievement in Character. Speaking of Untitled Goose Game, it also won the Indie Game category and the Overall Game of the Year award. Very well deserved in my opinion. Moving on to books, we've now got a title for book 4 in Brandon Sanderson's epic Stormlight Archive saga. It will be called Rhythm of War, and as I mentioned in last month's Genrewise, it will be out on November 17th, 2020. Critters rejoice, for there is to be a Critical Role Codex, a non-fiction book all about the hit D&D show. The world of Critical Role is written by Liz Marsham and the whole cast of the show, with illustrations by Oliver Barrett and photography by Ray Kachatourian. The book will dive into the history of Vox Machina, the Mighty Nine, and the actors who portray them, as well as celebrating the fan community. I've still not watched the show because I'm still intimidated by how much of it there is, but this book looks pretty cool. It comes out from Penguin Random House on September 15th. We've got a couple of interesting Star Wars tie-in books coming out later this year, and there will be more on the way since Lucasfilm Publishing is due to unveil their Project Luminous initiative tomorrow as I'm recording this. But that is for a later episode of Genrewise. For now, there is Star Wars Poe Dameron Freefall by Alex Segura coming out on August 4th. It's a YA novel exploring Poe's past as a spice runner as revealed in Rise of Skywalker. Now, I really didn't care for that storyline, but at least we've got a brand new Alice X Zhang painting for the cover, so that's something. On October 6th, we are getting a new picture book all about Yoda. A Jedi You Will Be is written by Priti Shabir and illustrated by Mike Deese, and it looks super adorable. Penguin Random House will be publishing a new fantasy trilogy from temeraire and uprooted author Naomi Novik. The Scholomance books are set at a mysterious school for magic where students either graduate or die, and it seems like pretty much the only rule is just stay alive. We follow an unwilling dark sorceress who is destined to rewrite the rules of magic, and the first book in this new trilogy comes out on September 29th. It is called A Deadly Education. Check out the link to Entertainment Weekly in the description, they've got an excerpt. Next up, we've got titles and release dates for 2 new Shauna Maguire books in 2 of her long-running series. On September 1st, we've got A Killing Frost out from Daw Books. This is the 14th October Day novel, and it will see Toby embark on a quest she is not prepared for, but which she must undertake for the sake of her future. And the 6th Wayward Children novella is due out in January 2021 from Tor.com Publishing. It is called Across the Green Grass Field and follows Reagan, a girl who loves horses and finds a door to a world of centaurs and kelpies. Rivers Solomon, the author of An Unkindness of Ghosts and the Deep, has just announced a new novel called Sorrowland. It is a genre-bending gothic story following a black woman with albinism. She's on the run with her children after escaping a religious compound when she discovers that her body is metamorphosing and that she is developing extrasensory powers. It's due out in spring-summer 2021 from Murky Books. Orbit will be publishing a new epic fantasy trilogy from Empire of Sand author Tasha Suri. The first book will be called The Jasmine Throne, and it's inspired by the history and epics of India. We follow a captive princess and a servant with forbidden magic who have to become allies in order to save their empire from a tyrant king. The Jasmine Throne is due out in spring 2021. Next, we have 2 new novellas from Children of Time author Adrian Tchaikovsky. Both are due out in the first half of 2021 from Tor.com Publishing. One is a sequel to Tchaikovsky's 2018 book The Expert System's Brother, and the other is a new story called Elder Race. We follow a low-ranking princess who wants to rid her land of the demon that terrorizes it, and in order to do that, she has to seek the help of an ancient sorcerer called Elder Rin. HarperCollins will be publishing the first middle grade book by Mark Oshiro, the author of Anger is a Gift. The Insiders is the story of a queer boy who discovers a magical closet while he's fleeing from bullies. Of course, he hides there, but he also meets 2 other kids facing persecution at their own schools there, and the 3 of them find friendship and strength in one another. It's due out in the autumn of 2021. And finally, Solaris is publishing a new novel by critically acclaimed author Yoon-Ha Lee. Phoenix Extravagant is the story of a non-binary symbol painter and a pacifist mecha dragon. It seems bonkers, and the cover is magnificent. The design is by Dominic Forbes and his gorgeous artwork is by Dofresh. I can't wait to get my hands on this one when it comes out in June. Next up is FANDOM, and we've got great news for Hamilton fans. The hit musical will be shown in cinemas. Show creator Lin-Manuel Miranda has just announced that the original Broadway production of the show had been filmed with the original casts, and we'll get to see it in theaters in October 2021. So for those of us who weren't in New York at the time, didn't have piles of cash to spend on a ticket, we'll still get to, spy in on the room where it happened. Next, we've got film and TV, starting with the death of Netflix autoplay. At last, our long nightmare is over, for Netflix has finally added an option that will let you disable the autoplay for trailers to make browsing for your next binge watch so much less annoying. If you haven't already done so, check your Netflix settings. If you can't find how to change it, there's a handy guide from The Verge that I will link down below. Disney's new streaming service, Disney Plus, is finally coming to the UK and Ireland on March 24th. So that means that we now have less than a month to wait before we can enjoy The Mandalorian and finally understand the context for all of the spoilers that US viewers have heaped onto Twitter from day one. Next up, there is a Witcher animated film in the works at Netflix. The Witcher Nightmare of the Wolf will feature a new threat facing the continent, and it will be made by the team behind the live action show, as well as Studio Mir, who made Legend of Korra. Next, we finally have a date for the long-delayed Chaos Walking movie starring Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley. The movie was originally scheduled to be released in 2019, but it's since been subjected to numerous reshoots. As of now, the film is due out on January 22, 2021, and hopefully this release date sticks. If you've been on the fence about the Loki miniseries on Disney+, maybe this will win you over. Gugu Mbatha Raw has been cast in the miniseries in an unspecified role. We don't have any details yet on what character she'll play, but I've loved her since she was Martha's sister in Doctor Who, so I am thrilled that she will be in the series. Speaking of exciting casting, Netflix have revealed the voice cast for the upcoming Masters of the Universe Revelation Limited series. It's pretty impressive. Mark Hamill will voice Skeletor and will also get performances from Lena Headey, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Liam Cunningham, Justin Long, and Alicia Silverstone. We don't have a release date for the show yet, but sometime in 2020 seems the most likely. And finally, we have a teaser trailer for the BBC's adaptation of Mallory Blackman's Noughts and Crosses, the best-selling series set in an alternate history of the UK, where a black ruling class called the Crosses have enslaved a white underclass known as the Noughts. The trailer is linked in the description below, and the show will start airing on BBC One on March 5th. And finally, in real-life news, the Hachette Book Group has acquired the rights to over 1,000 titles from the Disney Book Group. Most of those books are backlists, so they've already been published. We're not likely to see a lot of visible consequences just because a different company now owns the copyright. But some of the rights that Hachette acquired are for books that haven't come out yet. And this is where things become complicated, because apparently Disney and Hachette went through this whole entire transaction without informing the agents or authors of any of those books that it was happening. So as you can imagine, this has resulted in some confusion because the authors and agent found out about it when all of a sudden people that had a pre-order of any book from the Disney Book Group were receiving notifications from retailers telling them that the book weren't being published anymore. And then authors had to take to social media to explain the situation to readers once they figured it out, and ask the readers to pre-order the books again once the listings went back up. It was a mess. It was definitely a mess, and it was a mess that could have been prevented with like just the smallest amount of communication from Disney or Hachette. So that's it, this was Genrewise. I hope you enjoyed it, and please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Did any of your favorites make it onto the awards lists? Which of those books that I talk about are you most excited for? What are you looking forward to watching on Disney+? Those are important questions, and I want to know your answers. If you like the show, please share it around. I work really hard on it, and I'd love for as many people as possible to see it. Thanks to Di and KJ for their help scripting this episode, and thanks to you for watching. I hope you'll join me again in a month's time for more science fiction, fantasy, and fandom news. If you'd like to see more from me, you can check out a previous video on screen right now. And if you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button that's on my face for a new video from me every week. I've been Claire, thanks so much for watching, and see you soon.